Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. And appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys could subscribe, that'd be great. And appreciate you stopping by. Miami Dolphins back on the mother bleeping practice field today, getting ready for the Arizona Cardinals. And Uno is back on the gridiron, getting ready for this swing matchup for the Dolphins, right? Like, it does feel like if they don't win this game, you know, you're seeing a lot of trades out there. I think we're like 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. It kind of feels like it could swing your season one way or another. I'm paying no mind to what Cheetah says online to trade deadlines. I don't put that fully out there as like I can't accept what this guy's going to do. Like, I'm getting sent Cheetah house for sale. Then I see on like Dolphins Reddit Snapchats of him and Mahomes. I'm like, I don't even know if this is real. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't take any of his tweets seriously. So I'm just hopeful that they come out of the gate this game. Tua can get loose a little bit. It's not a very good Cardinals defense they're going up against. You know, Cardinals are what? They're bottom 7 in passing yards per game. They're bottom 5, I think, in total yards in the air given up. Like, licking their chops. Let's go out there, man. Let's have the Dolphins just completely go out there. They're bottom 5 overall in yards per game given up. I just need to see the Dolphins get some offense cranking, dude. Like, this to me is like the model. It's not a great identity to have, objectively. But the model for Tua and Mike McDaniel's era is like, mediocre to bad teams at home, they usually handle those teams. Like, that is like what the bedrock of all this was built on. All of our false hopes, you know, all of our dreams, all of our excitements are built off of Cardinals at home, Panthers at home, whatever. You know, you name the team that's kind of like okay, but they're in your building. The Dolphins seem to do pretty good against those teams, like Commanders, before the Commanders got Jaden Daniels, of course. And they've just been, they're just lost right now, dude. They're a lost team that needs a jolt of energy. It was interesting hearing Mike McDaniel's press conference today. And when I say interesting, I mean an exercise. It really feels like the most working out I get done. Like, I think you guys could tell by my body. I don't never work out, but I don't work out a lot. And the biggest workout I feel like I do every single week is listening to this man's press conference. It feels like if an audiobook was to have a batting donut on it. That is listening to Mike McDaniel. It is a task. But today it was like, I used to think Eric Spoelstra talked long. You know, like I used to think Eric Spoelstra would speak long with his 60-second answers. And, you know, in our day and age on radio, you want things to be like a crisp 20 seconds. And then Flo was like always like a minute 10, but he was just saying nothing. He would just say a lot of words. And Joe Philbin, he was more compact with his nothingness. But this man just says everything. And now his answers are getting longer. They're like 3 minutes, 4 minutes sometimes. And he was talking today like about the run game. And he was asked by Beasley about the run game, like, is this the Dolphins' new identity or something like that, right? And it's no knock on the question, but, like, he went in, like, this completely squirrely different path, and I was like, what? What the hell did he just talk about? Like, what? Like, he asked himself, I've never heard this move before. Normally, you ever ask yourself a trivia question? You're like, you're talking with your friends, be like, he goes, you know how many armadillo species there are? You're like, no, Tobin, 9. It's like, yeah, well, you have an answer to that. Why you need to tell me that, I'm not quite sure, but thank you for the knowledge. This man today asked a trivia question to the media that he didn't have an answer to.
The important thing is that what we have in the midst of something that nobody's fired up about, which is losing 3 out of 4 and being at 2-4. Nobody wants that. That sucks. However, in that it's not about seasons aren't defined by week, whatever week we're in, but the 7th game. You got a trivia question. What's the percentage of teams that are 2-4 that end up having the same ratio of wins to losses at the end of the season? I'm going to quickly say I have no idea, okay? Because no one does, and it's a billion-dollar business that people care about stuff. And I've learned one thing in life: when you have no control and you care, it's either going to be you're going to be really pumped or you're going to be really pissed.
Okay. What? Like, you don't get to come back and be like, oh, I got the answer to that for you guys right after this. You know, like if you ask an Affleck trivia question, typically there's supposed to be an answer, Mike. This man is just like on a treadmill of words every single time. He did actually reveal something interesting that I found. I felt like it tied up some loose ends today for the Miami Dolphins. So if you didn't hear the news, the Dolphins signed CJ Beathard, backup quarterback extraordinaire. Time with him, of course, with the San Francisco 49ers. And Mike was talking about that he worked with him a lot personally. He knows him very well. He likes a lot of things about CJ Beathard. But the interesting thing about CJ Beathard is he had an injury settlement with the Jaguars. And when you have an injury settlement, he couldn't come back until week 7. And apparently, he couldn't come back into the Jaguars until week 7. But he also had told Mike, because Mike reached out to him after the Jags injury settlement and said that he was interested in signing him. But CJ was not fully healthy yet. And it now makes sense, the Tim Boyle thing, right? Like, Mike McDaniel all along probably wanted CJ Beathard to be the third string quarterback or to be behind Skylar Thompson should Skylar Thompson stink up the joint, which he very much did. Seeing some video, I saw Omar Kelly tweet out some video. I guess Skylar Thompson looks like he's doing more. But a man who knows the system and a man who knows Mike McDaniel very well, it makes a lot more sense why they maybe went with a stopgap in Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle made no sense, and it still doesn't make sense to me, and I think we're all fed up with it. And the Snoop Huntley thing was kind of a throw out of the air because it's like, oh, you go by the guy's credentials, but he doesn't really know the offense. And when you heard Mike McDaniel say that he had already reached out in August to CJ to join the roster, but he wasn't healthy to go, it feels like, oh, that was maybe where he was going all along. Because you remember CJ had the injury, but there was a battle with Mac Jones to be the backup in Jacksonville. He had started, I think, a game for them last year and won a game for the Jaguars. So I found that to be interesting, that Mike McDaniel basically put out there like, oh yeah, I have wanted this guy for at least months on the roster. And instead, he didn't say this, but it felt like my conclusion to that was, yeah, it was left with Tim Boyle. That's what the team was left with. And then left with Snoop Huntley because Tim Boyle was so bad and they knew they couldn't start him, and Skylar Thompson was hurt and also bad. So, look, all in all, hopefully it's not something any of us have to deal with. We don't have to deal with any of that. Hopefully it's Tua healthy from here on out. He was asked a little bit more today about the IR thing. Like, why was Tua placed on IR? Why was Tua? Tua said he had no symptoms. And Mike McDaniel was basically in a spot where he goes, I don't know what that means, no symptoms. Like, the people, he uses the term, the one he loves saying is medical experts, not doctors, medical experts. He says that one a lot. And he's like, I don't know what to tell you. They told us he needed rest. So I've said this, it does feel like the Tua thing has bordered on badgering a little bit this week, because ultimately right now, hey, the Dolphins, he's playing. He wants to play. He's just signed for $160+ million guaranteed. He ain't going anywhere. There's no quarterback controversy. The team's been awful without him. And I feel like there's going to be time where all these answers eventually come out, kind of like it did the last time around, right? Like where Eventually you found out, yeah, Tua did contemplate retirement. Eventually you did find out, yeah, Tua did hear from his mother that she didn't want him to play football anymore. Eventually you hear all these things. I do think eventually all these things will happen, but right now the Dolphins they're going out there like hands up. They're getting ready because they have the season really in the balance these next couple of weeks of what are you going to be? Are you going to even up your record? First, you got to get a win. Like, you need to show you could beat anybody. And that's what this week is. Like, get yourself right. Do what you should do. You're a favorite. Show any kind of life, into this season. That's what's the importance of this week. If they can get themselves to 3-4, and I hate doing the steps right now, but Lord, this is where we are right now. And they can go on the road to Buffalo and show that they could at least hang with them for God's sakes. But if they somehow could beat them, which is not very likely, but if they somehow could beat them, yeah, you would feel a lot differently. But I'm not gonna go into that trap because that's what everybody was doing with the Tua being out thing. Now that Tua's back, I'm not gonna do that trap with Tua. But I will say, when Mike McDaniel tells his players, "Hey, Tua ain't the savior," when it's being written, "Hey, Tua's not a superhero." No. Look, man, very much sympathetic to the situation. I'm a big Tua fan. Anybody, to the point where I'm ripped for being a Tua fan, right? Like, to the point where people are like, "You look like a fool." You guys know, we're Tua the program. I don't want to hear any of that stuff. Oh, he ain't a superhero. He ain't a savior. No. The Dolphins' defense has given them a chance to win these games. The Dolphins found something with their run game to survive, but it made Mike McDaniel go from wheelbarrow balls to mouse balls cautious. Now he's got his quarterback back, and it's very obvious like that was the issue, right? Not offensive line, not run game. Turnovers have been a terrible issue for them. That's been almost disgraceful how bad they've been with the turnovers. And the times they turn them over and the back-breaking times those turnovers happen, the carelessness, the recklessness of those turnovers, that, to me, has probably been the thing that shot him in the foot the most out of anything. So when you say your leader's coming back and you say, oh, he's got the most votes out of anybody for captains, and you say that, and that you've basically been one arm tied behind your back because you had backup quarterbacks who were too inept to get the ball to your star receivers, or you didn't want to risk them getting the ball to the star receivers. Either way, the three-headed monster that you signed this offseason has been irrelevant for every game but one this year. And maybe you don't want to say Tua is the savior, but Mike, Tua, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle, you guys all decided that was the face of the franchise. That's why they all got extensions or raises. So with him saying he's been symptom-free for 5 weeks, he's been throwing for 5 weeks, if you don't think that the expectations on the QB should still be high, either if you're a pundit or you're a coach, you're sorely mistaken. I think he said something today like, "Oh, well, you don't expect to just pick up a bike and run the Tour and race in the Tour de France." And one, I would say, if the Dolphins were taking on the Ravens or the Chiefs or the Lions or the Vikings or the Bills week 1, maybe I would be sold on that. But they're taking on a team that I think is, if they're not on par with, they're in the same weight class, all right? This is not Max Holloway going to fight Francis Ngannou. This is Max Holloway versus Ilia Topuria this weekend. They are in the same weight class, okay? This is Islam Makhachev, Dustin Poirier. This is not Islam Makhachev goes fights Cain Velasquez. That's not what we're doing here, okay? This is not Mike Tyson versus Floyd Mayweather. You guys get the analogy. I'm just saying this is not a game where I feel like the Dolphins are going to be given a break by me, the fans, the ownership, anybody, it's a game that they better win. And yeah, the expectation should be there for the quarterback right off the bat, and especially to get the damn football to your 2-star wide receivers. Look, go with the run game too. I'm not saying abandon it if it's working. They're not very good against the run. You know, I mean, it's not a good defense overall, this Arizona Cardinals defense. But you know, their best asset is their running game, by the way. You want to go try and jump on them early. Dude, I don't want to hear any of that. This isn't the Tour, you know, you don't go to the Tour de France right away. No. That's horse bleep. This team is been underperforming and having critical errors, and your limited expectation is at least Tua will settle all of that down. At least Tua will settle all of that down. You know, the only thing, and if it's not like, hey, if Tua has a game where he has 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, or 3 touchdowns, 3, hey, at least, all right, he came out and was taking chances. I mean, no. I'm not sitting here and being like, oh, no, we got to put the handcuffs on him or none of that stuff. Dude, hey, the team has already been anchored down long enough. It's time to get everybody out there and run this puppy.